Hello everybody, this is Stephen Howson, this is Full Time Devils, and I'm joined by these lovely lads. I've got John from the Rookery podcast, I've got Adam McKola from the Full Time Devils, I think it's called, and I've also got Dave from all sorts of stuff, including the shopping channel. Welcome fellas, how are you all doing?
All good.
Yeah, great.
Right, so we're going to be talking about
Watford.
We are going to be talking about United and Watford, and we're also going to be talking about Lukaku's potential 3-match ban. That could break while we're on air, so if it breaks while we're on air, we will definitely cover it. But we're going to talk about United's striking options, because over the last couple of weeks, we've sort of started to see Jose Mourinho experimenting a little bit with Martial, Rashford, Lukaku, and a little bit of Zlatan. Dave, do you reckon there's much legs in this as a system that United are going to use throughout the course of this season, and do you think we should be looking at it as an option?
I think those four together, I think it's a very good option to have off the bench, to have that firepower. We saw that, you know, when you need a goal, when you're searching for a game, that throwing Zlatan Ibrahimovic on as a number 10 is pretty incredible. And that depth is very good for United. In terms of playing them together from the start, maybe I wouldn't go with that. I think Mourinho's sort of tried the Martial, Rashford, Lukaku, three players together in the last few weeks. It worked against Newcastle in the second half. I think that was because Juan Mata was pushed to the right wing and Marcus Rashford became a number 10. The problem with that, when that's not the system and Mata's playing as a 10 and Rashford and Martial are on either flanks, they don't really track back that well. And they sort of leave United both isolated and exposed, something that Mourinho said in his press conference post the game from the weekend. So that's kind of an issue. If they do play those players on the counter-attack, teams will get some really good joy out of there. We saw Huddersfield do it well. We've seen Brighton do it quite well. You know, when United push forward, it sort of leaves Nemanja Matic and, of course, Paul Pogba so exposed in midfield. So I like it going forward, but I think in the right situation it can be used, but not every single week. I think Mourinho needs to make the opposition think a bit more than just throwing on four forwards and going sort of guns a-blazing from the start.
Yeah, I agree. Adam, what do you reckon? Because I thought it was a bit strange to see the likes of Rashford and Martial come really narrow in that system. You expected them to go wide and hit the flanks, wouldn't you?
Yeah, because I noticed Martial kept doing it. He was really, really central during a lot of the game, and I don't mind him coming central, but I prefer him to be receiving the ball a little bit further up the pitch than picking up the ball so deep. Martial can beat players, we know that, but obviously when he's coming from the centre and he's got players coming from both directions at him, it's going to be a bit more difficult for him. I thought Brighton's tactics were very, very good on Saturday, and it meant that everything was congested. So that probably forced Martial inside. It could have been something Jose had said to try out, because we had heard him mention before how they kind of occupied the similar areas when they both played. But talking about Rashford and Martial, I don't think they will play together against Watford. One, because I think Rashford kind of picked up a knock towards the end of the game against Brighton. And two, because I think this is a game where we need to be a lot more defensively sound. I think Watford will punish us if we do play. I think if we play with Rashford and Martial, we get a lot more going forward. But like Jose said, we lose a little bit out of it in terms of shape and defensively. So I don't think he's going to play both of them together. As for Romelu Lukaku's performance in that four, I was much more impressed with him on Saturday. And that would really disappoint me now if he was to get that suspension, like you mentioned as well. Because I felt Romelu Lukaku's all-round performance, he missed a couple of good chances. I remember one headed opportunity that he missed, and he probably should have got a goal that game. But him dropping deep, him using the ball, yes, he gave it away a few times, but I thought his distribution and his all-round play was a lot better on Saturday. And I think a lot of that got overlooked for what happened after the game in terms of, can you call it a kick out? Well, it was a kick out. It wasn't a kick, but it was something. But yeah, I think we need to work with it. I think it would be very good, but obviously we need to work with it. They're all young players. They're all learning their games, and they're not the finished articles yet.
I agree on that sense. I also agree with what Dave was saying, is that you don't generally get a lot of track back when teams are trying to hit us on the counter, but I actually think that sort of lineup, especially Martial and Rashford as the two outlets in a counter-attacking sense for us, thinking about maybe City, thinking about maybe Arsenal, might be a really good option. John, obviously not really got much of a dog in this fight, but when you look at that attacking option that United have got, is that a problem, do you think, or is that something like it's not a problem, just deal with it. We'd love to have that sort of option.
Yes, stop calling it a problem, will you? You've got 4 strikers and are going forward, and they can all score goals. We're a bit lacking at that at the moment. We've got Andre Gray up front playing, and we've got Troy Deeney come off the bench, but that's probably about it. So, be lucky, boys. Personally, I don't think Jose is ever going to put 4 up front at the beginning of the game. It certainly looked like on Saturday it was a tactical change against a Brighton side, which there are many who are going to turn up at Old Trafford and be looking for a point and be really closing everything down. And in theory, the 4 didn't work. The goal didn't come from those 4, and it wasn't really from their play. So it isn't something like I tell you. If you're ever going to have a go with it, then it would be against Watford. A team that you think maybe we can have a bit more of a go at, compared to waiting until you play Arsenal. So I think maybe it is a scary thing to sort of see coming at you. There's nothing wrong with that, but I can't really see it happening, and so I'm not particularly scared about it come Tuesday.
I think it depends on the way we set up as well. I think if we played a 4-3-3, I know you can't play all 4 together then. But if you played a 4-3-3, I think Martial and Rashford would perform better in the formation, because then they haven't got as much defensive responsibilities. And I would like to see us try out that 3 in the midfield, especially in the bigger games against Watford. I'm classing this as a big game because I think Marco Silva is so good.
I think the big thing with that as well, what happened against Brighton was it was a 6-on-6 on the counter-attack. You consider it was Bruno, the fullback, Knockaert, and then Pascal Gross along with the left winger and the centre forward. A 6v6 on United's back 2 defensive midfielders and the back 4. You always want to have that extra man when you're defending, and I completely agree with you, Mac. If you're going to play Lukaku, Rashford, and Anthony Martial, you have to play a 3-man midfield, or it's not going to work, because you need that balance, especially in the defensive sense, because it's just not there if you're leaving the 2 defensive midfielders isolated. So throwing someone in like Amaro Fellaini alongside Paul Pogba, Matic, defensively that's a 7 that would be quite difficult to break down, and then the counter-attacking pace is there. I think that's a perfect situation for City, and of course, for games against Arsenal.
But you definitely would play that
it.
against a 5. Oh, yeah, 5 in midfield that Watford been playing. We're playing 3-5. That would really be, leave you a bit weak, wouldn't it?
I think it matches up quite well if you play a midfield 3 against a midfield 5, because then you have the 2 attacking players come back in and make the numbers up in there as well. And I think we need to start transitioning to a midfield 3, because that's where we've lacked all season. We scored goals by individual brilliance or set pieces for most part this season. We've not really dominated a game from midfield, and I don't think you're going to with a 4-2-3-1. Right, Jose talked about the fans in his press conference. Said that he was really happy. Mark, obviously there was a couple of times, wasn't it, where it was super flat, but it also jumped up a lot, especially when the Brighton player went down and we didn't kick it out. The crowd absolutely went bananas in the Stretford end, didn't it?
I think the Lindelof challenge, I found something from that as well, and I don't know whether it was because
that was the guy that stayed down. Yeah, that was the one that kicked it off.
Was that the one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was 2 separate incidents. Sorry. The Victor Lindelof challenge. One, I think Victor Lindelof put in a good. We were cut open a few times with balls across the box, and Brighton did have their chances, but I thought Lindelof looked better on Saturday, and I think that challenge was kind of something where everyone kind of sat up and thought, Lindelof's here now. At last, he's finally arrived. And also, it kind of just got us all going up for the game, because the weather was awful. Everyone was flat at times, but then there would be a boost at other. It's really strange at the moment. Some people are happy, some people aren't happy, but we're all happy with the results, kind of. And it's just where do we stand? It was better than last season, but it's not what we want. City are playing amazing, but if we weren't looking at City, we wouldn't be concerned about United. So it's really strange, and you can feel it in the crowd. But I do agree that once that challenge went in, there was a serious lift in the crowd, and it helped the United players get over the line. But I think Jose Mourinho commenting about the fans, it really annoys me a little bit, because Jose Mourinho doesn't need to comment about the fans. Manchester United fans will be up for the games we have to be up for. It's happened all the time over the years. some games, like Brighton at home, like Newcastle at home, they're going to be a little bit flat. And that is because of the expectation to win. Now, I'm not happy with that. Sometimes I'm stood in the Stretford end singing, and not many other people are singing. And I would love if everyone was at it for every game. But the facts of the matter are, it's a Premier League issue, and it's a Man United issue as well. For a lot of the games, the atmosphere is a little bit flat. And I just think Jose Mourinho talking about the fans and all that stuff, I think it's a bit wrong. Because ultimately, us fans, and I said this to Ruth Barrier as well, us fans had David Moyes' back, he was shit. We had Van Gaal's back, he's shit. Now we've got Mourinho, who, yes, some of us might not like some of the things, but we all know he's a fucking winner. So we're not going to get on his back. He's fully got our support, so I don't understand the need to keep talking about the fans. But he might just want the atmosphere to get cranked up, because we've got City coming up next at home, I think, after the CSKA game. So it needs to be up and at it.
John, what's the relationship with Watford and the atmosphere down at Watford like with Marco Silva, who has been impressing in the Premier League since he came, despite what Merson said, hasn't he?
He's not one of those managers, like I say, of recent managers. Quique Sanchez-Flores was probably the one that we sort of had the most connection with. He's lovely, he's charismatic, he's got a lovely beard and good jumpers. But then we had nothing with Walter. When you then look at what Marco's doing, he's sort of showing... He's not if you met him in a pub, I think it'd be really hard to sort of get to know him. So he's showing us by performance to get us going. Now we had a big thing over last year. Watford have never been known for our crowd and our energy, let's say. We've got our 1881 section who've been doing really well. We now have the biggest flag in the UK. All those things sort of help and they add, but truly they don't matter. The crowd get going when the game get going, and we will be up for this game because this is why we came to the Premier League. Manchester United at home. That for us is a big difference. Where, as Adam was saying, the contrast for you guys is when you've got home games where you've got teams coming to limit you and to not let you flourish as much. That's when it must be, a big stadium like that, when it's quiet, is a terrible place.
Yeah, it does, and it does get quiet pretty quickly, and the club hasn't helped matters in the slightest with that. Dave, what's your thoughts on the atmosphere and Jose's relationship with us at Old Trafford?
Yeah, I think like Max saying, the atmosphere goes up and down. The big games, the Champions League games, your games against Liverpool, City, Leeds. It gets up, and it's amazing.
Leeds?
I think it just...
Hang on, Leeds? Is it 1994?
Yeah,
Jesus, wet, Dave. They've not been around for a long time.
The Leeds games are absolutely banging.
Accrington and Stanley as well. We always get up when they come to town.
I ended up in Leeds Twitter the other day. I don't know how. Don't ask, but I did. And,
wait, they've got Twitter in Leeds?
Yeah, they have. And
wow, it's amazing where you're getting it nowadays.
They still talk about Beckford's goal,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Right, we got some comments here from the people who are watching at home. Sigurdsson Hregvidson says, we will be lucky with a draw against Watford. I'm not sure we say we'll be lucky with a draw, but I definitely don't think anyone's underestimating them, or certainly I'm not anyway. Mr. Miyagi, not sure if it's the real guy, says, put Young and Valencia back to winger, bench Marshall and Rashford, let they watch. Okay. Ahmad says, I don't care who plays, we need 3 points bottom line. Ultimately, yes. Richie says, who should be the next manager of United? Are we really doing that now? We're not doing that. Beatshoven says, Mourinho needs a 3-man midfield because teams have already figured out how to overrun our midfield. That's a great point. I thought that was evident from the City game and the Real Madrid game in pre-season, actually, and we've still not fixed it. Alex says, I think Fellaini needs to start the next game. I think you've got every chance of seeing that. Andrew McMahon says, play 5-3-2 against Watford. They're on form at the moment, and Watford have B defence solid and don't trust Lindelof and Smalling in a 2. I wonder, is Bailly back? Are we going to have Bailly back for this one?
I think maybe. It was a major doubt for the last game, so I think it will be down to a little bit of a doubt, but it still be a doubt. Still doubtful.
Right, we're going to go to a quick 30-second ad break. tell you what, I feel much better after that. Thank you very much. Right, we are going to go to the starting 11s then. So the starting 11s currently is McKola on 55, Joshie 48, John Shin 47, Statman Dave is on 39, and then you got Ben Pearce, Suff, Scott, me, everybody else down in the dump. And John, no pressure but pretty much most people that have come on have got 10 or 11 out of 11 for the opposition starting 11 predictions, which is kind of crazy. So we'll let you go first. And you can give us what starting 11 you expect Watford to line up with this. I was going to say this weekend, but it's tomorrow night, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you guys, watching what you've done before, and you have a wealth of players sort of to pick from. We're still developing a side, so we don't change around so much. I think there's probably going to be one change from Saturday. Gomez in goal still. We're probably going to go with the back three. I think we'll probably at least start with that. So we Adrian Mariappa. Sebastian Prudel will come in, be in the centre. Britos went off injured, and I think the game probably is a bit too soon. And Seb's been out for a while. He's beautiful, and it's good to get him back on the pitch. As well as Christian Cabaselli as our back three. Midfield five with Kiko Femina, who is the one Watford player who isn't getting enough shout-outs at the moment, enough props. Everyone else is getting it, but he's been so solid. And then the centre will be Cleverley, Decore, and I'm still going to go with Will Hughes, who started the last two games since we bought him from, and he only really started recently, so we bought him from Derby. But Pereira could come in there, but I'm going with Will. He was taken off slightly early on Saturday, so you think, maybe it's like, look, we're resting a player for a big game that's coming up, which is a bizarre place for Watford to be. As well as, so Decore, Cleverley and Hughes in the middle, and then Zieliger, who had a great game on Saturday away at Newcastle, with Richarlison just behind Andre Gray up front.
Not a wonder and not a kid. If you know what I'm on about, you know what I'm on about. If you don't, you don't. Right, Dave, give us your starting 11, please. Flower.
I think I'm going to change it up with Man United this week. I think that the sort of being isolated in central midfield, I think Mourinho will drop back to 3-man midfield. David De Gea, of course, in between the sticks. Fantastic season once again for Manchester United. Then into the defence. I don't think that's going to change from what we saw in the last game. So you've got Valencia, Lindelof, Smalling and Ashley Young. I think Ashley Young's contribution for Manchester United in the attacking sense this season has been fantastic. You keep saying no Howson, but he keeps coming up with big moments like the absolute rocket at the weekend against Brighton over Albion. He was our best attacker by a country.
Hang on, right, stick it back on me. Stick it back on me. I knew this was coming, David. I knew this was coming. Like I said last week, if you want to say he's been adequate, you can say he's been adequate. But we've got higher expectations of the words brilliant and fantastic. I think you need a dictionary, mate. You need to go and find out what those words actually represent. We've gone from having Paddy Evra and Dennis Irwin to now calling mediocre fullbacks excellent and brilliant. Like, look, here's the thing. Darmian can't attack, although he's pretty good defensively. Blind is actually a better crosser than Ashley Young statistically, but he's very slow, and United fullbacks push all the way up beyond the halfway line, so you can understand the reasons for not wanting a slow fullback. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So when you look at the fact that Ashley Young is the best of three poor fullbacks, it makes sense to play him. But don't piss in my mouth and tell me it's champagne, okay? Because it's not. It is the problem, and he hasn't been that great, and he was actually poor again at the weekend. And you can't tell me that a shot he wants to go at the close left post, loops over and goes in the other side, and I meant it. David, sort your life out, my friend. Carry on with the rest of your team.
Yeah, hashtag agenda in the comments. Ashley Young for Ballon d'Or winner 2018. Don't know what Ashley Young did well we have in a defensive sense. You think of what Brighton's best player over the last two seasons, right? Knockout, strong on his left foot. Ashley Young did so well at showing him on the outside, consistently showing him on the outside, not giving him any space to come inside. And you think of going forward in an attacking sense. Of course, the Thunderbolt that won the United the game, but he consistently beat both Knockout, Pascal Gross, and the fullback Bruno in the dribble. And that was the thing. Yeah, I agree. He slows himself down a little bit in the final third. He's going to be going from, not hitting his crosses to maybe grabbing two or three.
Oh, crosses. Are we talking crosses, David? Are we talking crosses?
Slow down there. And that's, it's my time to speak now, Stephen. You've had your agenda on Ashley Young. So now we're going to talk about the positivity of Ashley Young. I think Ashley Young, what he's done since he's come into left back has been very good. He keeps the width really good on that left-hand side. He's not played that much. For a player at 32 years old to improve again and show that he's a key player for United this season. We can't not say that he's a key for United going forward. You think about the other game that was very close, Man United against Southampton away. Who put the ball in the box for United to score in that goal? Ashley Young once again. So it's this thing where you've just got to open up your eyes, Howson. Open up your heart to Ashley Young. He's a great guy. Ex-Watford as well. Perfect for this preview to give Ashley Young a little bit of love. So I want to see that in the comments. In terms of my midfield, I think it's going to be Marouane Fellaini, Paul Pogba, and Nemanja Matic. 3-man midfield, Matic holding, Pogba free roll, and then Marouane Fellaini just being causing a bit of chaos. And then here's what I'd actually quite like to see: Marcus Rashford on the right wing, Martial on the left, and Lukaku through the middle. I want to see that as a 3 with a 3 behind it, and that could be some real good football together. Lukaku's performances, I think he's been perfectly good in the last few weeks in terms of his work rate. He's been fantastic. Think about the corner United scored from. It was Lukaku putting in a shift and winning that corner. Yeah, he missed a few headers. He didn't have any chances on the floor as well. So for United, they need to be a bit better in zone 14, just outside the penalty area in their chance creation. Because again, Mourinho said they were poor. I agree. They only create things from crosses. But Ashley Young, what a hero. Again, I expect him to maybe grab a hat-trick again this week.
You owe me 20p as well, because remember last week you said he'd get 3 crosses and I said he wouldn't. He got 1. Anyway, I think that seems probably pretty bang on. Although
the goal though, mate, unfortunately.
He's an own goal, mate. There's a couple of injuries that we don't know what the crack is. Obviously, I think Bailly comes in if he's fit, and if Rashford's got a knock, I expect Mata to probably play as well. Mac, show us your starting 11, please.
I've gone with David De Gea, Valencia, Rojo, Smalling, and Blind. I wouldn't play Ashley Young in this game because of his defensive inadequacies. I think if you watch the game against Brighton, I think for most of the game he spent in their half. I think he very rarely got back, and I think it's okay playing Ashley Young in those games when he doesn't have to worry too much about defending. But in games like this one, in games like Arsenal coming up, we need to have a more defensively astute fullback, in my opinion. And I think Daley Blind or Darmian should come in. Either one, I'm not too fussed because last time they were both pretty poor when they last played. But I think we need to get one of them in the team for this week, and hopefully they play well and keep their spot for that Arsenal game. Nothing against Ashley Young, but you can tell he's a winger playing at fullback when he plays. He's got all the enthusiasm, all the work rate which you'd expect from him. But he's not perfect defensively, and I think we have to be in these two games this week because we need 6 points. In the midfield, Matic and Pogba, and then I've gone for Lingard, Mata, Martial, and Lukaku. It was a few. I wouldn't be surprised if Zlatan starts, although I can't see it yet. But I wouldn't be surprised for what he'd bring to the team, and I think him and Lukaku have looked like they could do something together when they have had a few minutes together. In terms of Rashford, like you mentioned, the injury that he potentially has. So I think Martial will start. We don't want to risk Rashford. Play Mata, and Lingard's work rate will come in handy.
I thought about Lingard. I think Lingard's not a bad shout, actually, for that work rate and that movement, because I think one of the things that we definitely lacked a little bit was movement against Brighton, and I think that's somewhere we can improve. Right, let's talk about the opposition then. John, this should be your forte. What do we need to be looking out for against Watford?
You're going to be looking out for 90 minutes, basically, to start with a good run of this season with getting late goals, particularly against big clubs like Arsenal, which we did. So that's the first thing. It's a work rate. There's a
big clubs or Arsenal? Which one is it?
Both. So we had a great passion in this year from the club, and it's what we just did not have at all last year. Marco has got what you would call the players who weren't together last year, plus brought in the young players that we have this year, and he's really made them a team, not just a squad of players. We are more than the sum of our parts this year. We weren't last year. So the recently has been 3-5, 3-5-1-1. And spreading out down the wings, as I said, from Firmino and Zidiger is a big part of our play. But the interesting one, which is, I'm sure Dave will bring a stat about how great he is, Richarlison, who is sort of playing as a forward, but much, much more free. And for a boy who came over, and I am saying that he is a boy, he has come over from Brazil, and instantly, bar the substitute appearance in the first game of the season against Liverpool, where he's like, whoa, okay, crazy. Right, straight away, he got his game on. I think Gomez, fellow Brazilian, has really helped him sort of settle down, and with Marco being a Portuguese speaker as well as him, that really helps him to settle. We've had so many young players come over and not settle and not really make an impact quick enough. So he's done that, and the team are using him as an outlet. It isn't like, if it gets to him, let's see what he can do. They are putting that ball out to him. They trust him, and they know that he's going to do something exciting. And say, in all the years I've been going to Watford since the mid-'80s, he's the first one since John Barnes where you can sort of feel the excitement of a crowd, get a bit lively when he gets it. He is still fairly raw, but the mentality, he's absolutely perfect. Our weakness is still up front. Yes, we did score 3 goals on the weekend, but in terms of strike force, it is where we really need to address our team. Andre Gray is doing fantastic stuff off the ball, but he didn't even hit the target, or he didn't hit the goalkeeper on 2 occasions on Saturday. It is a worry, but I don't think Troy's going to come straight back in and be up front and try and see what your kahunas are like, as he did against Arsenal when he came on and showed that back four for Arsenal a bit of a nitty gritty, let's say. But then the star I think of our season so far is Abdul Doucouré. In the middle of that pitch, we signed him almost 2 years ago now. He went back out on loan to Granada, came in almost literally within minutes. He was minutes away from going out on loan back to France, but stayed. Didn't do much the first half of the season, but came in the end of last year and showed, we can see what you can do. And he's just gone higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And he is, he's the real deal, really. And when you stick him with Cleverley in the middle, and if Chalobah hadn't been injured, the 3 of them being this season were amazing. Like going, you guys, if you get going, I'm not saying we've been amazing done at Leicester, but they would have really kept us in it as a midfield 3, just pinging that ball around in their little triangles with grit, with determination. And Will Hughes though has come in, Pereira and Will Hughes have sort of filled in that Chalobah role since he's been injured. Will Hughes has shown the grit and the desire to step up from Derby, where he was, almost being held back in some ways in terms of career. We were staying with Derby for so long. We got him for a sniff of money, I think, that he might have had to have gone for a few years ago. So he's fantastic. Pereira, who we got from Udinese a couple of years ago, he's the true creativity we have in our team. And I don't think we're going to start with him yet. He is very injury prone. So I think he'll start on the bench, but he could be the one if we are doing fairly well and we do want to see if we can push and test you a little bit more. Then he's the man to come on and mix things up a little bit and try and play against his old friend Paul Pogba.
Oh, sorry, mate. Thought you was done. Dave, hipsters' choice of the year, aren't they, Watford? What do you know about them?
Yeah, they're decent. Someone said at the start of the season that Watford would be one of the most underrated teams and be the dark horses. I'm not sure who that was. Maybe check out my YouTube channel if you want to see more, quotes like that. But in terms of Watford, Marco Silva, the lineup, the tactics were absolutely perfect against Newcastle. We saw against Newcastle that if you expose them behind the fullbacks, you can cause a lot of problems. Richarlison, was drifting into that area, and he had a brilliant game. And he's probably one of my favourite players that doesn't play for Man United this season. He idolises Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe playing football at United in the next few seasons, we don't know. But in this season in the Premier League, he's been decent, got 3 assists, 5 goals, created 16 chances, 45 tackles and 46 dribbles. That's the interesting part about Richarlison. He doesn't just do the flair work. He doesn't just do the tricks, the skills, gets the assists, gets the goals. He works very, very hard. And that's why he's been so good for Watford this season.
Are you done?
Yeah. I'm finished, buddy.
That's pretty impressive. I'm very impressed.
Adam, what do you know about Watford? Who should we be looking out for?
Spanish Tom.
Cheers, Adam. Right, as it stands, we haven't actually had the news through about...
Richarlison's mint. And Marco Silva's their biggest problem. He's an amazing coach. And he will have something up his sleeve for Man United. And I'm sure Jose will have that in mind as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went with maybe a formation that we've rarely used this season or haven't seen this season, just to spring the shock for them.
Right, we haven't actually had the update that we was hoping for while we was live about Lukaku, but I imagine the second that we wrap this up, the news is probably going to break about whether Lukaku's been banned for 3 games or not, and I'm sure that's going to be a massive talking point as and when it does. But we've got an important game to get out of the way before we get to that. John, I'm going to come to you first as our guest. Give me your score prediction for United and Watford.
2-1 to Watford. Goals from Rookery and Howson.
Statman David, score do you reckon?
I'm going to go with 2-1 United. I think it'll be a tight game. I think going with that 3-man midfield, looking to hit Watford on the counter-attack is where United need to go.
Adam McKola from Full-Time Devils, what score do you reckon?
Oh, man. City battered them 6-0, and I know that our performance is going to get compared to that no matter what happens. So we could win 1-0 and people will be complaining. I'd take a 1-0 win right now. We need 6 points this week. But I think it's going to be 1-1.
I kind of go with you on that one. I'm not sure we're getting 3 points. I wouldn't take a draw. I think we definitely need to be winning all these games to keep pressure on. Yeah, I am as well, actually. And we need to be winning all 3 of these next games. The league could look entirely different if we win our next 3 league games. As I said, don't know what's going on with Lukaku. I'm sure that's going to drop in about 30 seconds as soon as I wrap this up. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Dave. Thank you to Adam. And if you're interested in what's going on over at Watford, go and check out John's podcast from the Rookery end and see what he's saying over there. Thank you to you guys for joining us and getting your comments in. We've got the full match coverage tomorrow as usual, so make sure to keep it locked to Full Time Devils. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters.